What's good, tackles and tinnies? Welcome back to the show. We're going through all the teams' previews and reviews from 2025 and 2026. We are now hitting the grand final teams. We're in the upper echelon. We're at the top dogs. Currently, we're doing the Melbourne Storm, and they had a fantastic year overall. And guys, I'm changing the format of the review/previews. As you guys can tell, for those who are following on the journey, I just had my face. Now I'm going full teacher mode. I'm going multimodal. I've changed up going from Zencaster. Now I'm using Riverside. Riverside allows us to use multimodal setting in regards to using screen share. There's an awesome little AI tool that you guys could use if you want to do something similar, whether it's PowerPoint for your work, etc. It's called Gamma. Not sponsored, but yeah, Gamma essentially, you upload your Word document and then it creates slides for you. You get the paid version, which gives you up to like 100 slides or whatever. This one gives you like 10. So again, if you have to do a presentation for work, it's a fantastic little cheat code. That's what my little lesson for you guys is today as a high school teacher. But we're not talking business at work. We're talking Melbourne Storm. So let's get straight into it. So, the 2025 season preview/review. How did the Melbourne Storm look? So, snapshot of dominance. Ladder position, second. Guns. They were arguably probably the best regular season team. Obviously, were pretty heavily affected with the state of origin. However, they maintain a top four position and they looked absolutely dominant at times. So, as you can see on the screen, guys, 17 wins, 7 losses out of 24 games with a positive differentiation of 212. Unreal. They had 40 competition points with attack being the third best in the league and the defense being second. I talked about the Canberra Raiders in the last podcast where their defense sort of let them down, being number 6. Melbourne Storm, as we can see on screen, is number 2. Attack top 4, defense top 4 explains a lot why they will very close to winning a grand final, let alone being in the grand final. So again, you have to probably be top 4 in both categories unless you're out and out gun and you have X Factor all across the park. Just pretty unfortunate about the Melbourne Storm versus a red hot Broncos team, but we'll get to that later on the podcast. Now, how did 2025 feel? Attack, defense, and overall vibe? I thought their attack was unreal. A couple of games where you guys got 40, 50 points, dominating. You were track meet heroes against the really poor teams. I do remember a couple of games, which we'll talk about soon, but Papenhuyzen in that particular game, absolutely dominated. Absolutely dominated. Cameron Munster looked fantastic in periods of the season. Jerome Hughes, quite injury raveled. And Harry Grant, obviously, huge workload with Origin and leading the team around the park. However, when all 4 were there, you guys looked dynamic. Obviously, you had 2 really good wingers in Xavier Coates and Will Warbrick. Warbrick had all those concussion problems, but you obviously had guys stepping in like Grant Anderson doing a very serviceable job, and some other guys who we'll talk about later who could potentially make the top 19. In regards to defense, guys, defensive stronghold. Again, defense wins championships. I thought you looked very solid overall. And again, there's some very, very good attacking teams within the competition. However, when push came to shove, you guys delivered on the bigger stages. Did have those lapses. We need Bellamy Cam. I think we all agree we need Bellamy Cam in the coach's box. All those blow-ups that he has, that's probably a highlight. I didn't wipe that one down, but yeah, that's probably one of the highlights for me. But yeah, defense wins championships, and you guys were arguably one of the best and most consistent. And the stats don't lie, and they back that up. But overall vibe, Bellamy's enduring touch. So the season reinforced Bellamy's coaching genius. Also, guys, he's just free up to 2028. Fantastic for you guys. Another 3 years under contract. Does that give Cameron Smith potentially enough time to get mentored by Madge Maguire in Brisbane? I know his kids will be done high school by then. That's a bit of a smoky little leak there. Maybe Cameron Smith will be the future head coach in 2029. Bellamy, but however, yeah, he was unreal. Again, he's got the pedigree, the winning culture. He gets guys who are really no names and then brings them all the way back up. I'm hoping my audio sounds all right. My microphone was so far away from me just then. Sorry, guys. But there is an also situation that's happening in 2026, which also came through in 2025, and that's the Zac Lomax situation. So I'm just going to read what's on screen, then we'll have a bit of a discussion as well on my thoughts and point of view. I've got this synthesized from news.com, Fox Sports, and Channel 9, chucked it in chat, and they synthesized it all into one central idea. And obviously, again, as I said, I'll give you my point of view. So the Zac Lomax situation has evolved into a legal and contractual standoff between Lomax and Parramatta, with Melbourne Storm positioned as a key third party. So again, as of today, pardon me, the 7th of February, this is what's currently happening. Again, I've got a second page to validate those claims. So, court action. Parramatta has taken Lomax to the New South Wales Supreme Court, asserting his release from the Eels with a conditional on him pursuing rugby union, in other words, R360, even potentially some other rugby union ventures, and not signing with a rival NRL club without their consent. Melbourne's interest. So Lomax has been in discussions to join Melbourne after the R360 competition was deferred, leaving him in contract limbo. Exhibit hearing. So the court has scheduled an exhibited 2-day hearing commencing on the 13th of February in 2026. Lomax's little team is expected to argue against the enforceability of the restriction, potentially on restraint of trade grounds. And the NRL intervention report suggests the NRL may intervene if Parramatta refuses reasonable compensation for Lomax's return to the NRL. Talks between Lomax, Storm and the Eels reportedly broke down over compensation, with Parramatta's preferred player-based outcome over a fee. So again, as of today, the 7th of February, the Zac Lomax saga is still in the courts. Parramatta in the New South Wales Supreme Court trying to enforce conditions of his release, basically arguing he couldn't sign with another NRL club without their written tick of approval. The hearing is set for the 12th to 13th of February. Again, maybe not going to go through, but we'll talk about that shortly. But there's already noise it could run longer and brush up against the season. The big twist is evidence Lomax may have signed or progressed a Storm deal before Eels approval, and Parramatta also alleging Melbourne acted in bad faith. So right now, no jersey, just lawyers. The next week is make or break. Now, compensation-wise, Melbourne Storm offered the Parramatta Eels $200,000 originally as compensation for the Zac Lomax signing. In more recent times, probably early Feb, Melbourne Storm upped their offer to $300,000. Now, what I didn't realise is that the money compensation that Melbourne's offering, so that $300,000, does not go towards the Parramatta Eels salary cap. That makes a difference, okay? For a successful club, and again, I've talked about this on Tackles and Tinnies in other shorts videos, but for a successful club like Parramatta Eels, who, money's always good, but it's not going to help them get more players. Yeah, it might help them with a gym or hiring some external staff or some extra funding that might go here and there for the sports club. But in regards to on the pitch for a developing team that needs, again, more star players, Zac Lomax was one of those guys. I think that's a big deterrent for them. I think it's reasonable that Parramatta are asking for a player. For the players that are asking, speculation was around Xavier Coates, Jack Howarth, potentially there was another forward in there, I can't think of the top of my head. Sean Bloor, I think, was also rumoured to be one of those guys. Melbourne Storm aren't going to give those guys up, which is fair enough. But that leaves, again, Zac Lomax in limbo. I do think a player swap is fair and probably money compensation. Maybe a guy like Moses Leo, if you're looking for another outside back. But Parramatta, you guys just signed Brian Kelly, and Bailey Simonson originally was seeking a release, and now he's decided to stay because Zac Lomax is gone. You've got essentially a 2 for the price of 1. Yeah, they're probably not a Zac Lomax stature in regards to playing ability. However, it's definitely worth considering that Lomax is being a bit inconsistent in terms of positive culture from what it looks like from an outside perspective. If I'm the Parramatta Eels, yes, it's a bit of a rort, but I think it's a bit of a stick it to Zac Lomax and a bit of a positive reinforcement to the fans. I'm also hearing in regards to Zac Lomax playing for Melbourne Storm round 1. That's what I'm trying to get at. Zac Lomax has murmured to also have propositions of, well, Parramatta doesn't want Zac Lomax playing for Storm in round 1, which will be versing each other. If I'm the Parramatta Eels, I'll be like, F you, Zac Lomax. I want to be versing you, and I want to be whacking the hell out of you. I'm going to get our biggest boys, Junior Polo, Kalmatua someone like that, big bop, bang, big shoulder, and just say, hey, this is what could have been. I think it's good theatre. Obviously, good for content, good for the viewership. Parramatta Eels fans, I don't think you'd want a guy either who doesn't necessarily want to be at the club. There was also murmurs that Zach deferred to R360 and then looked to get back into the club. I think it's like you're in or you're out. And obviously he was out. So if I'm the Parramatta Eels fans, which I'm not, but as an outside perspective, as a Gold Coast Titan, for example, if someone deferred from the Titans, went to another club and they wanted them, I'd be like, screw you, go away. But I actually want to verse them. I really want to verse them, and I really want to whack them too. To say, hey, we are a good club. We've got high culture. We don't necessarily need you. You're in or you're out. Classic LeBron James versus Kevin Love back in those Miami Heat days. Cleveland Cavalier days. But I think you should play. I think compensation for a player and money should be ample. What do you guys think? I want to know in the comments, what do you think of the Zac Lomax situation? Should he be playing round 1? Should he be going to court still? I think the court situation's a bit ridiculous. I mean, like, come on. It's one guy. Should he be going to court? Should they blow it over? Is the compensation fair? Should they ask him for a player like Sean Blaw or a guy like Jack Howarth? Let me know in the comments. This is a really good discussion point, guys. And again, I got all this from Channel 9, Fox Sports, and News.com. Now, more about to what you guys are doing in regards to your roster for 2025 and 2026. So in 2025, you gained Stefano Ikamanu, big middle forward, earmarked as a long-term replacement for Nelson. Great pickup. The culture of the West Tigers wasn't very good. He was in a losing team. I thought he was a very, very good pickup for Craig Bellamy to develop him. I thought he did very well for the Melbourne Storm overall. Can be a high-minute player in my eyes, but you needed that aggressive middle forward who has upside. That was Stefano. Moses Leo came from New Zealand Rugby, outside back prospect. Does he make the top 19 now as your backup outside back? That'll be a very good discussion when we get to the top 19. Josiah Pulu, a young promising middle forward from the Gold Coast Titans. I was really disappointed when the Titans actually let him go. I don't blame the kid wanting to leave. Josiah Pulu had a bonus essentially in his contract, and there was one game to go. He was about to hit it, and then the Gold Coast Titans said, "Nah, we're not going to play you." I mean, that's pretty dodgy and that's pretty slack. I don't blame Josiah wanting to leave the club for that reason. But yeah, great game for the Melbourne Storm. Another guy who could potentially be making the top 19. But again, we'll get to that later on the podcast. Guys who you lost at the end of 2025, Christian Welch, or at the start of 2025, Christian Welch, he retired. Great club guy, awesome for culture, highly experienced middle forward. But again, in that back half of his tenure, looked a little bit slow. But again, great guy for the club. Remus Smith, Yong Tonamapia, both guys either got released or retired. Side backs provided depth. Remus Smith was very solid for you guys over a long period of time. They're probably the main guys to be talking about. But in regards to this coming season, guys, 2026, Jack Hetherington coming from the Newcastle Knights. Aggressive middle forward, can play middle, can play edge. Potentially could help fill the role that Eli Katoa with his head knock has happened. He could potentially be another guy coming off the bench, maybe a spot starter. Definitely need more aggression in your pack. Jack Hetherington does that for you in spades. Trent Talau, come from the Panthers, another young half. Again, you've lost Wishart next year, which is huge. He's gone to the Dolphins. You've also lost guys like Nelson, who's been released, Papenhuyzen, Pezzett, Anderson, Garlic. There's another guy going top of my head. He's your center. He's going to come back to me, guys. Sorry. But yeah, Chris Meaney. Yeah, he's gone as well. He's also gone to the Perth Bears. You've lost a lot of guys, so getting some young upcoming talent like Trent Talau, I think that's going to be very worthwhile for you guys. David Mawali, that's another whole situation as it was. Projected or was almost signed with the Manly Sea Eagles, and then all of a sudden backflipped on that. Now he's going to Melbourne. Huge get. Huge get. He's going to be tough trying to get into that top 19 with a couple of guys like Josiah Pahulu as another potential smoky, Jack Howarth, similar sort of. But yeah, will Mawali make the top 19? That's a good question. We'll have to wait and see. As I just mentioned, Nelson, Pappy, big losses. They got released. Papenhuyzen, devastating to see. Potentially due to head knocks. Generally, he said that on his 167 podcast. I'm hoping he comes back. I hope he gets itchy feet and wants to come back to the NRL. Obviously, there was speculation about R360. Big Nelson, 2 grand finals in a row. Disappointing. Couldn't play, suspended both times. I think it was both mutually beneficial for both parties to leave each other. Will they miss his aggression and punch? Yes, but for what they were paying him for and the lack of consistency getting on the field due to ill discipline, I think it was benefit for both parties leaving. As I mentioned before, Pezzett has gone. Huge loss in regards to depth piece. He's gone to the Parramatta Eels for 2026, and then he goes to the Brisbane Broncos, more than likely to take over Adam Reynolds / Ben Hunt. Yeah, great get for the Eels and the Broncos, respectfully. Grant Anderson, gone to the Broncos. I don't even see him starting. Like, unless they want to make a bit of a change with Karapani potentially not going on the wing. But maybe Grant Anderson comes off the bench in their top 19. You'll have to wait for the next episode. Does Grant Anderson make the top 10? Bronson Garlick, depth piece, can play hooker, can play lock. Yeah, many different positions he can do. Probably the main guys. The other fella on screen, not too relevant. How's this guy's multimodal? Looking pretty, aren't we? But yeah, call locked in, securing the future. So despite key departures, as we just talked about, you've also got guys who are signed long term. Your captain and Harry Grant signed through the end of 2028. Best hooker in the world, arguably the second best of all time behind fellow Melbourne Storm alumni Cameron Smith. Hughes committed to 2030. He's your longest standing player on your roster. Upbacks are hard to come by, particularly guys who have been developed locally through the club, or not locally through the club, but have been developed through the club. He was a former Gold Coast Titan. Disappointing, but I don't think he probably gets that same elk without Craig Bellamy. But yeah, awesome to see Jerome Hughes, absolute gun. I'm going to give him more roses throughout this podcast, but yeah, signed to 2030. Su'Fa'alogo extended till the 2028. Obviously, Papenhuyzen has now left the club. He's got a clean runway, as well as Nick Meaney going to the Perth Bears. It's his jersey to lose. Definitely his jersey to lose. When he gets an opportunity at fullback every single time, gun. Even on the wing, gun. Shame that he tore this hamstring on that breakaway last year, but the energy, the enthusiasm that he brings, arguably unmatched. He's Keanu Keaney-esque, Trey Fuller-esque, Jai Gray-esque, all in the same ilk, but Su'Fa'alogo's got that X factor. I went to Melbourne early January for a wedding, and the boys were training next to Amy Park, and Su'Fa'alogo was at the back, and the energy and enthusiasm and the silky skills and footwork that he has, gun. I'm expecting huge things. Guys, if Su'Fa'alogo's not on your super coach, I'd definitely be considering it. He's like 511K. He's in my team currently. He just has that X factor. I love to watch him play. Guys like Trent Liero, Josh King, Eli Katoa, all guys signed for multiple years within your forward pack. Save coach, Warbrick, both guys signed for the end of the year at a minimum. Nick Meaney has officially signed with the Perth Bears. Jack Howarth, he's up there for another couple of years. Does he play second row? Potentially. If Zac Lomax signs, that's a huge discussion point, which I will get to soonish. Joe Chan can play middle, can play edge, can play center in a pinch if need be. Good depth piece there. Josiah Pahulu, again, we talked about him before. And Moses Leo, again, bit of a project outside back, but potentially could be depth piece for 2026. So guys who exceeded expectations. So again, when Su'Fa'alogo got the opportunity, guys, I thought he was a gun. Whether he was at fullback, whether he would come off the bench, whether it was on the wing, definitely preferred him starting. But when he was not getting an opportunity, X-factor galore, particularly when Warbrick was out. Cameron Munster, gun, what can we say? Had a pretty bit of a turbulent year, obviously, with the passing of his father, RIP, but he got to lead his state. Even though Harry Grant's in the team and he's the club captain, it was great to see Billy Slater giving the captaincy to the more experienced Cameron Munster. He exudes Queensland. He is Queensland. Okay, what he does for the team, the heart, the grit, the X factor. He's a gun. I thought, all things considering, had a fantastic year. Josh King, he's not like your AFB. He's not your Payne Haas. He's not your Terrell May. He's not getting all those roses, but he's so solid. He's so solid. I do project him to improve. He's only going to get better with more experience. But yeah, he's picked up all that Welch's slack. Obviously, Nelson's not there anymore. Him and Stefano, very good 1-2 punch. Trent Liero, another guy who gets some roses too. Reliable workhorse on the edge / lock. Primarily played at the lock position for 2025. Also got an origin caller, even pushing Paddy Carrigan out of the starting team. He's very similar to some other guys he've had in the past in regards to being workhorses, tackle bots. Very old, reliable. Had some brain snaps here and there. Obviously got Simbin at the very back end of the grand final. But yeah, gun. Very, very reliable player. Eli Katoa, arguably the most dynamic and consistent second row in the game. Devastating that he's potentially out, more than likely going to be out, guys, with that head knock. For those who don't remember, I've talked about this many times on Tackles and Tinnies, but I'll give you guys a quick refresh. Tonga, the Tonga game, he was... Yeah, sorry. I'll rephrase. Eli Katoa, World Cup... No, not World Cup. Eli Katoa, Pacific Nations, had a head knock pre-game with Lehigh Hopewadi. I was like, bang, saw the head knock on TV. I'm like, oh, he's out. He's out 100% with concussion. Eyes rolled to the back of his head. Didn't manage to go through the concussion protocols. Don't know what the heck happened there. Anyway, starts the game, all well and good. Bang, another head knock. And then somehow passes concussion protocols again after 2 head knocks within probably an hour of the first one, obviously in the warm-ups. And then the third one, just essentially had a seizure, guys. So scary. Had to get brain surgery to relieve the pressure on his brain. So scary. But in recent times, like in January with the pre-season / off-season, it was great to see Eli Katoa running some shape, doing some cardio, obviously not doing any contact, but it's good to see he's training with the boys. Really good for his mental health, keeping fit. I'm hoping there's a chance he can play in the back end of the year, but health comes first. And it's really good to see that Eli Katoa is with the boys. And I think as bad as the incident was, it's really good to see that the NRL now has to step up their game. Rugby league has to be better. This can never happen again, particularly if it's evident on camera. I literally saw it on the TV, perpendicular to me, with an obvious head knock / concussion. That can't happen again. Shit that it did, but never will happen again. Disappointments or question marks, again, there's a slash, guy. So I thought Papenhuyzen was good overall. However, there was definitely question marks. Injuries were obviously a concern. The goal kicking was hit and miss at the very end of the year. Obviously got a release with the head knocks as well, / all these other ailments he's had some pain with. Disappointing that he's out of the game, more so than like a question mark that he's where he will go. Maybe R360 again later on. I'm seeing murmurs that he's going to get itchy feet and he's going to want to come back to the NRL. I'm hoping that's the case. I love Ryan Papenhuyzen. My name's Ryan. Okay, on my bloody Touch Rugby League jersey, I got Pappy on the back. Not only because I like to emulate my game as Ryan Papenhuyzen, but Pappy in Spanish means daddy. So when people ask me, why is your TRL jersey Pappy? There's your answer. I'm your daddy. So, yeah, it's a bit of an Easter egg there. Nelson Asafa Solomona, it's a hard one to pronounce. Destructive when he was on the field. Big body, intimidating factor. But hey, 2 consecutive grand finals he has missed due to ill discipline. That's very disappointing. The amount of money that he was on, I think it was like $700,000 plus. Very, very bad. Mutual split obviously had to happen. Outside back depth, again, when Suafalonga and Will Warbrick were sidelined, guys like Grant Anderson had to step up. Moses Leo had a crack. Joe Chan had to fill in at centre at times. I am a little bit concerned with outside back depth, obviously with dual origin and injuries alike, but we'll see what's going to happen with the rest of their squad later on. How do you think they went in 2025, guys? Let me know in the comments. Now, some key moments or highlights from 2025. As I mentioned previously, there was some record-breaking Ryan Papenhuyzen amazing moments. So in round 10, we saw demolition of the West Tigers. I remember watching this game downstairs on the TV perpendicular to me. Ryan Papenhuyzen scored 36 points, including 4 tries and multiple goals, many line breaks. I didn't have him as my captain. I couldn't loop him. I was just so pissed off. I had him as a VC, but there was no one to VC loop him to in Supercoach. And yeah, that one hurt me really, really bad. But yeah, absolute gun. Huge highlight for Ryan Papenhuyzen. New individual club record with 36 points. Another highlight, obviously, was the grand final qualifier. I remember watching this game. I was about to go on to Fraser Island. We were Tincam Bay, close by to get to the barge at Inskip Point. I remember watching this game, 22-14 victory over Cronulla Sharks in the prelim, which secured their 12th NRL grand final berth. They're consistent. They're awesome. They show grit when they can't score big points. The defense obviously proved dividends as well. So yeah, awesome moment for them getting back to the grand final. And this one was a bit of a speculative one, but Harry Grant's Golden Boot. So postseason, we had the Pac Nation / the Ashes series. Obviously, Harry Grant played in the Ashes against a lackluster English team. I thought Dylan Brown should have got the Golden Boot. Nonetheless, Harry Grant, kudos to you, my friend. You got the prestigious Golden Boot Award. Best and fairest, essentially. I don't think he deserved it overall. I think even deep down he'll think he didn't deserve it overall. The stats don't lie. The competition don't lie. What do you guys think in the comments? Did Harry Grant deserve the Golden Boot, or should a guy like Dylan Brown get it? Let me know in the comments below. Now, for those who've been following along on the other podcasts, I'm getting the Fox Sports strength of schedule. So essentially, Fox Sports looks at the buys, where they're situated, when are the Origin games situated, are the buys around there, teams they're versing against top 8 teams versus top 4 teams, bottom 4 teams. They get all these numbers together and they synthesize it to give a definitive number. So as you guys following along in the video format, you guys will see that there is the Melbourne Storm are about halfway. They're the 8th hardest fixture in 2026. There's good, there's bad. Let's discuss it. So key opponents are who they play twice. Rabbitohs, surely they've got to be better. They have to be better. They've got all these guys coming back. Cameron Murray's going to full off-season. Dave Fafita's looking fit as a fiddle. Latrell Mitchell's shifted to centre. Jai Gray's got a pre-season at fullback. Cody Walker's looking healthy. Guns across the park. Depth across the park. They're going to be a tough beat. Panthers, what can we say? Guns. 4 grand finals in a row. 4 wins in a row. 5 grand finals in a row. Just missed out on a 6th grand final in a row to the Brisbane Broncos, but they were right there to the very, very end. They will definitely be there and abouts again. The Doggies, few question marks regarding their spine. Does Mitchell Woods play at halfback? Does that push Matt Burton to centre? I want to see Stephen Crichton at fullback. I'm going to keep banging on this. I've done several short form videos. I did the Doggies review. Go check that out on any listening platform that you watch this on. Stephen Crichton has to be fullback. But those guys, they're good. Best defense in the league. Roosters, they're always there and abouts. Obviously, we're a little lackluster in patches for 2025, but you're picking up experience in DCE. You got Reece Robson as well. Tedesco's healthy. Sam Walker, I think, was unspoken about in regards to him having a ACL return to play last year. He's healthy. Naf White's going into himself. Guns across the park. Your outside backs aren't changing. Mark Nwanga-Nitawase, another year of experience. Australian tour. Roosters will be very, very good. Broncos, defending champs. Borderline, or definitely top 4 team. Best forward pack in my eyes in regards to Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan. Guys like Piacora is thereabouts. Those guys are potential smokies for Origin. Ricky, he's a potential New Zealand player. You got strike everywhere. Xavier Willison, another guy. Young fella and Bentakura. Their pack's really, really good. Aging in Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds, but you got a guy by the name of, what's his name? Reece Welch. Absolute gun. Outside backs, guns. Shibasaki, gun. Ezra Mann, gun. They'll be better. Gun galore. Raiders. We just did their review. Go check that one out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Again, I'm doing a similar format in regards to the multimodal. So again, if you like the previous formatting, again, I'm going to reiterate, let me know. Or if you like this multimodal setup, I'm more than happy to do this way as well for all the reviews or previews or reviews of the actual games in season per round. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, Raiders should be minimum top 6, you would say. Obviously losing Fogarty, but besides that, everyone's back. Everyone's healthy. You got Kobe Black and Sanders fighting for a halfback position. Sanders will definitely start the year at halfback, but Kobe Black, once he figures out his neck injury, could definitely smoky chance of playing some first grade this year. Ethan Strange, Dalian 5 out of the year. K.O. Weeks arguably looked like one of the most dynamic fullbacks. I remember going to Magic Round, Melbourne Storm. Coincidentally, we're talking about the Storm right now. I remember the chip and chase over Ryan Papenhuyzen. And yeah, that was that game. So I won't pick up that moment for you guys. But Raiders very, very good. Manly picked up a guy by the name of Jamal Fogarty. Very steady hand, solid kicking, goal kicker. Didn't seem overly confident in patches for the final series, but that's experience. He'll be better for that. I don't know where they land, to be honest. Cool as a gun. Ola Kawatu's back. Is Turbo going to stay healthy? We'll see. And Parramatta Eels, I have no idea where to rank these. I'm seeing different creators saying maybe bottom end of the top 8. I'm seeing other creators saying middle pack. I said like second last. I have no idea. I have no idea where the Parramatta Eels are going to rank. They're one of the hardest teams to do their previous review. Top 8 teams. So again, we're looking at the strength of the schedule now, guys. Top 8 teams, 2025. You got 12 games against the 25 teams. Top 4 teams, you got 6, and bottom 4 teams, you got 5. So in regards to your pros, you got 2 Origin week buys, which is again crucial for you guys because you got Grant, Munster, Coates alike. Fantastic. 3 guys, maybe in with Jack Howarth, potentially. 3 buys in the last 12 weeks for optimal refreshing before finals. You really need that, particularly for this team like Munster, who's getting a little bit older. Probably guys like Liera as well. I didn't even mention. Eli Katoa might be coming back. We don't know. But I think, you guys definitely need some late round buys for sure. However, you got some cons. Brutal start with only 2 home games in the first 5, facing Broncos, Panthers, Warriors, and Raiders early. Tough. So tough. Warriors, elite defense. Raiders, still, again, a top 16. Panthers, very good defense. Arguably a top 3 team. Broncos, minimum, top 4 team. That's really, really hard, guys. If you can probably go 3 from 4, that's unreal. You take that. And then you get your bye. But then you also got a tough run home against Roosters, Bulldogs, Panthers, Broncos, Sharks in the final 8 games. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. But again, that origin period for you guys is crucial. If you guys can get through the origin period at, let's say, 70% win rate, you'll take that. Because again, I think you're better on any given day against any other team. We'll see. Let me know in the comments. What do you think of the Melbourne Storm strength of schedule at number 8? Now, projected 19. I'm so happy I persevered. All the murmurs in the world that Volandi wasn't going to push through some of these rules. All I saw online, and I keep seeing online, the top 17 players. Well, guess what, guys? I'm an innovator here on Tackles and Tinnies. I've been doing the top 19 from day dot when I heard this rumor. So what we're doing, again, for those who don't know about the new rule change, instead of going from 17 players in the squad, we're going to 19 players, which means we've gone from 14 to 17 on the bench to 14 to 19, which means you're going from 4 interchange to 6 interchange. However, Only 4 out of the 6 players on the interchange bench can play. That's important. So let's say, for example, Wishart, Chan, Tui Kamakamika, and Leo play. All the other boys cannot play. So there's 2 other boys will, for example, then be David Mawali and Alec McDonald. Okay, those boys will then be your emergency reserves coming off the bench if there's a misdemeanors or consistent HIAs. So that's important to know. But who I've got, and I've got some caveats in green font for those following along in the video formatting, but I'll explain it best I can. You're starting 13 at fullback, Suafalongo. Again, he's re-signed long-term with the club. He's got a full runway now that Nick Meaney's gone to the Perth Bears. I think Falongo is an absolute gun. Superstar in the making. When he gets the opportunity at fullback, electric. Okay, at fullback. On the wings, no changes here. You've got your 2 giants in Xavier Coates and Will Warbrick. They even look bigger in person. But yeah, aerial threats galore, both sides. Great finishes. Yeah, particularly Xavier Coates, absolute gun. But Will Warbrick is not far off, to be honest. At centre, you got Nick Meaney, very solid, very versatile, can shift to fullback if there's an injury as well, which is very good. He's also going to be a goal kicker. Now, for the people following along on screen, I've got a slash, which means it's an end-or player. Now, currently at centre, again, I've got Nick Meaney, and the other centre, I've got Jack Howarth. Assuming Zac Lomax does play eventually, I do see Zac Lomax shifting to centre, which means where the heck does Jack Howarth play? Well, Jack Howarth actually got signed as a second rower, and coincidentally, we've lost Eli Katoa. So I do maybe project Jack Howarth if Zac Lomax signs. I won't say if. When Zac Lomax signs, I actually project Jack Howarth to shift back into the second row. Bit more athleticism. I kind of like it. I actually do like it. What are your thoughts, guys? Does Jack Howarth shift to second row when Zac Lomax signs? Sure, he does sign. But do you reckon he does? If so, does Jack Howarth go to second row? Let me know in the comments below. Great talking point. But currently, Zac Lomax is not signed, which means Jack Howarth has got the other centre position. In the halves, our 2 mainstays, Karen Munster, gun, elite, best 5'8" in the game. Not much more to say, but he's your 5'8". Jerome Hughes, gun, longest signed player for Melbourne Storm, X Factor galore, played through a bloody bung shoulder, had a broken wrist, and still managed to break through the line and score some tries. He's a gun. What can I say? Titans, you mucked up there. But yeah, Jerome Hughes is number 7. Josh King will accompany Stefano Ukamanu in the front row. Both those boys, again, I've gave them a bit of a glaze at the start of the podcast, but overall, great 1-2 punch, really hard workers, can play 50-plus minutes in a pinch. Yeah, really good tackle efficiency, great technique, hard running of the football. I love them. At hooker, I've got Harry Grant, obviously, best hooker in the game, arguably the second best hooker of all time. He's also going to be a captain. He's an 80-minute player, very crafty. Kind of wish he wasn't being so annoying and like milking penalties, but we'll see. Now, the second row is a good conversation point with Eli Katoa being out. All signs point to Lasati starting at second row in place for that, with Sean Bloor accompanying him. But it's also worthy to note at lock, Trent Liero, who again is a mainstay in the team, very consistent tackler, hard-working, hard-nosed player. He's not going to be there for the first couple of games, which means there's probably going to be a little shift around, which potentially means we're going to have to do something on the fly here. Does a guy like Jack Hetherington get a crack? Does Mawali start? Does Lasati come off an edge? That's what I'm trying to think, that the Zac Lomax situation happens sooner rather than later, because I think they kind of need it with Liero and Katoa out. Jack Howarth will then go to second row. Lasati then goes to lock to accompany Jack Howarth. But let's say Zach doesn't start and Trent Liero is not there. At lock, I'm probably going to have a guy like David Mawali. Okay, I've got him in red because you got Lazarus, Vailepu, and Josiah Pahulu, all similar players, all big bodies, all stocky, but I think those three are similar. I think Mawali then shifts into lock or front row with Josh King maybe going to lock or Lasardi going to lock, but they'll be there and abouts. What do you guys think? It's a tough one to predict. Where does the middle rotation / edge rotation go at the start of the year? Liero's not going to be there at start because he got suspended due to the grand final incident. Let's assume Zac Lomax isn't there. What are we doing at lock? Let me know. I'm predicting either Josh King or Lasati to do that. Let me know in the comments. Now, off the bench, Tom Wishart. He's your utility. He's your final year. He's gone to the Perth Bears, most likely starting at hooker in 2027 for the Perth Bears. But yeah, he's Mr. Versatile. He's Mr. Fix-It. Maybe not for outside backs anymore because he's got the top 19. Joe Chan, another smoky guy who could be starting for Trent Liero at lock, maybe on an edge with Lasati pushing into the lock position. We'll see. But yeah, I like Joe Chan. He's your modern day front rower / second rower and also can play some centre if need be. Now, with Mawali pushing in for Liero because Liero is going to be injured, I think out of Lazarus, Vailepu, and Josiah Pahulu, I'm actually going to say Pahulu gets in due to the fact that Pahulu has a little bit more upside, I reckon. He was an Australian schoolboy, I believe, from the Gold Coast Titans days. So Pahulu maybe nags that bench spot. And I've also seen other guys say similar things. But Vailepu has had opportunities in the past with the Melbourne Storm. That'll be an interesting conversation as well. Who gets it? Vailepu or Pahulu? Let me know in the comments, guys. Tui Kamikamica, mainstay within the team. Knocked that ball on from Reece Welch banging it out his hand. That one really hurt you guys. But Kamikamica, another guy who could definitely be starting in a pinch if need be with Josh King going to lock. Maybe the situation due to the fact that he's got experience there. But yeah, he'll definitely be in the top 19 somewhere. Now, this one's tricky. You got Alec McDonald and Jack Hetherington. Both can play middle, both can play edge, both can play lock. Now, I got Alec McDonald as the incumbent coming in. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Jack Hetherington pushes McDonald into more of a support role. If there's an injury, McDonald might come in. But yeah, at this stage, I've got the incumbent in Alec McDonald. I like his leg speed. Really good leg speed. But depending what they're looking for, they might want Hetherington's aggro and aggression as like short impact minutes. Let me know in the comments, guys. Another one to discuss, McDonald versus Hetherington. Who have you got and why? And finally, on the 19 jersey, I've got Moses Leo. He's your outside back cover. Can play centre, can play wing. If there's obviously a fullback injury, I predict Nick Amini to go to fullback, even potentially a Wishart. But Moses Leo can definitely cover some positions in the outside backs. Now, your 2026 ladder prediction and key storylines. So, after coming second in 2025 with an amazing point differentiation, 212. You guys are elite. You're top 4 in attack and defense. 8th hardest straw. You've obviously lost some key guys in Papenhuyzen, Nelson, Katoa. Where do you guys predict? I reckon anywhere between 1st and 3rd. Honestly, I think you're a top 4 team at a minimum. Your ceiling, 1st, floor, 6. Is that fair? What do you guys think? I think Zac Lomax comes in and brings your upside a little bit up, and I think he does sign there eventually, some way, shape, or form. But yeah, minimum top 4, but I'm predicting top 3, ceiling 1, floor 6. And that's very, very conservative. They were firmly in the premiership picture through the draw and the post-NASPAPS era, as I just mentioned. And again, I think Zac Lomax eventually signing could definitely be a thing for you guys. Now, speaking prediction, Storm will boast a top 4 defense once again, even without guys like Papenhuyzen and Nelson. I don't think Nelson really helps defensively, but I think Papenhuyzen or Nelson helps in terms of intimidation, which potentially could help defensively. But Papenhuyzen, very solid defender, very good communicator, hard-working fullback as well. Harry Grant finishes top 3 in Dally M voting. I do potentially see that. Okay, I do potentially see that. Doesn't really get injured. In a winning team, has the hand on the ball all the time. And again, with Papenhuyzen not being there, Harry Grant might have to do a bit more. We'll see. Let me know. What do you guys reckon? Does Harry Grant have a chance of being a top 3 Dally M vote getter? Melbourne missed a top 4 for only the second time in the last decade. I'm going to say definitely no. I don't predict that to happen. I think that'll be cap. Yeah, I think that's too good. They've got too many guys who have been there before. Your spine's elite still. Your forward pack's still good. Your outside backs are guns. I am a little bit worried about depth in your outside backs. But yeah, I think you guys will minimum still be top 4. And Zac Lomax, as we mentioned before, signs with the Storm and faces his former team, the Eels, in round 1. That's fact. Okay, that's definitely a fact. I want Zac Lomax to get belted by Parramatta. I think it'll just be good theatre. I think the ratings will be very, very good for this game as well. And obviously good content for myself and other creators out there. The narrative, I think there's going to be emotion in this game. Who doesn't want Zac Lomax to play? Honestly, like, you must be absolute sourpuss if you're a Parramatta Eels fan and you don't want Zac Lomax to play. Melbourne Storm players, or Melbourne Storm fans, do you want Zac Lomax to play in round 1? Let me know in the comments. And your big storylines in 2026. So life after Pappy and Nelson. Again, 2 experienced players, 2 guys who are leaders within their respective forward pack and outside backs. They create offensive spark, key figures within the team. We'll have to see how they go with that. Falongo getting consistency at fullback. Does he stay within the fullback position? Does his hamstrings stay good? He's a very strong power athlete, has had hamstring problems in the past, got sniper rifled last year regarding that hamstring injury. I think so. I think he's got an elite prospect at a minimum. I think consistency with Craig Bellamy at the helm, which complements the next point. His legacy, I think he gets one more ring. Craig Bellamy, by 2028, I think Craig Bellamy gets one more ring. Whether it's this year or next, we'll see. I think Broncos will be up there as well, but maybe a grand final rematch. But yeah, I think Craig Bellamy gets one more ring. And I think he really wants to get a ring with Munster, Grant, and Jerome Hughes. Obviously, Papenhuyzen would be nice as well, but yeah, I think they would have wanted another ring with that group. So are the fittest, can they enjoy that 14-game stretch before the first bye without burning out their top team, and their depth will be tested? I think that's a really good point. I think it's a great point. No bye, but again, you're getting the bye at the right times during the origin period when you're affected most. And there's teams that are going to be also in a similar point of, well, depending who you potentially verse. Some teams don't really have many origin players. In other words, the Sharks, for example. But you could get a team like the Broncos who have a fair few players. You probably want to verse them around that time. It's a catch-22. What do you think, Melbourne Storm fans? Do you want, or would you rather have the Storm have their buys at origin time and rest their guns and not have to have that potential disadvantage? Or would you want them to have a crack? You got guys like Jerome Hughes. You got guys like Sulfar Longo, X Factor galore. Let me know in the comments. And top tier status, are they still a top 2 club? Yes, I think they are. I think they will minimum be top 3, as we've discussed multiple times. I think Craig Bellamy at the helm obviously provides a lot of consistency, culture, positive culture, impact, etc. as the likes. I think every team has gotten better, personally. That's why I'm really struggling with these projections for 2026, but it's worthy to note. But guys, that's the podcast. I'm hoping you liking the new format. Again, everything is to do with how we're going, where we're going. But let me know if you want me to revert back to what we were doing prior, or we can go back to what we're doing now at Riverside. So again, that feedback for me is really important. But guys, I want you to like, share, subscribe, comment. You guys are really doing a good job, actually. So the reason why I'm saying it, because it works. It actually works. So the more engagement we get, the more viewership that we get. I'd like to grow this podcast into something that I can really be proud of. I'm obviously proud of coming from nothing as a podcaster and content creator, but the more I see in regards to viewership and interaction, the more incentive it gives me. Okay, I'm a school teacher. If you know any school teachers, guys, we are very, very busy. So doing this on the side, plus all my other fitness stuff, which I post on tackles and tinnies here and there, yeah, it gives me motivation to keep going on. Again, we're going back into Supercoach. We're getting some team reveals going on. time you watch this is probably going to be trials time. So it'll be interesting how Melbourne line up with my projections. Again, I've filmed this on the 7th of February, so things might have changed. But so take that as you will. But guys, I love you. I appreciate all the momentum that you're giving me. Any feedback for the podcast would be fantastic to hear. But until then, subscribe and talk to you guys soon.